Hello out there, Internet land. It is I, Dr. Brian Remy Cross. You may be familiar with me because we are friends in real life, or because you've watched some of the other videos that Silver Tree Consultants has put out around topics like technology and social protest. What I am coming to you today with is something a little bit different. This is a much more personal series that I am taking to calling B Plus Dad, uh, where I really want to be much more open and honest, not about sort of things that I have academic expertise about per se, although today is not a good example of that, but more around sort of the issues I think parents, particularly older parents like myself, are facing with their kids as they enter into those tween teen years, and might have questions or concerns about how to navigate those challenges. So, what I want to talk about today is, and I've got an NPR story there linked talking about the recent Surgeon General's op ed declaring war on social media and asking or requesting for labeling on social media that is similar to the kind of labeling that we see on tobacco and alcohol products, or if you're in California, on just about every darn thing out there. Um, so, this has been a topic of a lot of discussion amongst some of the parents I know, and there's sort of a concern of how much should I be worried about social media? What should I do here? I think there's been some scaremongering around these issues, but this is not one of them. This is really an attempt that I applaud by the Surgeon General to bring the platforms that create the spaces and the social media platforms more to account. Um, and what we have seen is that there are linkages between social media use and significant and serious mental health effects, as well as sort of reports by youth around their usage of social media and the way it makes them feel, which is usually not great. Um, there have also been, and I want to sort of be honest here and say that there are a lot of people out there as well that are seeing this as an opportunity to sort of scaremonger and create a moral panic, and then sell solutions for how you should, regulate your teen or tween social media use. Um, which I would say just be very careful before looking at any of these, and lest you think, hey, what am I doing? Um, I'm giving you free advice. I'm not selling anything here. I am giving you the experience that I have as a researcher who has done work in this space. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, I do have a doctorate in sociology with an emphasis in social change and technology, which means that I have spent a lot of time looking at and understanding how new technologies do impact the social systems that we are all part of, including families and youth development. And also, I have just spent the last 5 years working for a lab that specifically looks at the impacts of technology on youth. And my role in that lab was specifically working on the mental health side of those things. So, what do we understand from technology, not just social media, but a broad base of technology and its effects on young people? Um, so I will say I'm not a developmental psychologist, although I did work with a lot of them. And I also have a fair amount of experience working with parents who are concerned and have an interest in this area, as well as youth themselves. So I want to start by looking at something and giving you kind of a toolbox and some advice on how you might work with your kids to develop better social media habits. And this is sort of a challenge for a lot of parents, I feel, because they often feel like they're behind and they don't know and they're not aware of what their kids are doing. And let's be honest here, you can't monitor what your kids are doing 24/7. And I will say, if you are one of these technology abstinence sort of people, Look at the research on sex ed and what abstinence tells us there. And I think my guess is that it is very similar to what is likely to happen if you try to go all abstinence only on your kids with regards to mobile phones and technology and social media. A lot of the kids that the lab I was with spoke to when we would interview them would tell us about the ways they had of getting around sort of prohibitions that their parents or guardians put in place. So it is better to be engaged than to take an abstinence perspective and hope that that pays off. So to start with, I want to talk a little bit about what we get from the social media, how kids are seeing it. So let's take TikTok for an example. Um, TikTok does not know you. It may feel sometimes like TikTok or other social media platforms are giving you exactly what you want, but the algorithm does not actually know you. What it knows is people like you. And in that sense, when we are interacting with social media platforms like TikTok, or if you're an old like me, Facebook, um, you are engaged not in a dialogue where you're telling it what you like and it's coming back at you with something, but more of a monologue where it is saying, "Hey, I think you might like this." You have limited ability to be like, "Nah, I don't like that," and this is not sort of something that you get absolute control over the narrative that social media is giving you. The algorithm is not something we have control over. The news feed is not something we have good control over. And oftentimes we find that these platforms are picking content for us that we might like, but is much more geared towards what marketers or what their bottom line is saying they should be providing people. So you may get two things that you are interested in, but if only one of them is likely to lead to you clicking on and possibly buying a product, that's the one you're going to get almost every time. And it can feel like these things know you because they're making guesses based on the demographic factors. That is, what people like you. So if you take a teen that is a Asian female, uh, 14 years old, right? It's going to give her content, but that is content that other 14-year-olds, Asian females, tend to gravitate towards. And for you, you may sometimes see weird stuff that you're like, what is that? That's because it's trying to expose you to stuff that other people like you like, but it may not be your cup of tea. You cannot, when you're talking about social media use by teens and tweens, then you cannot trust the algorithm to give them stuff that is positive, healthful, and good for them. In fact, we know from research, primarily on Facebook, but other platforms as well, that there is a vested interest on the part of these platforms to get you to watch them. And that one of the things that people tend to watch more is negative content. So it is not going to give you happy puppy stuff all the time because that's not what gets you to doom scroll. It's the doom part of that that gets you to scroll then. And I want to contrast this to something that I think a lot of parents are probably familiar with because we are older. And these are things that don't necessarily exist anymore. And I originally had mixtape for this part in my script. And then I realized that that really, really pegs me as an older parent. And I changed it to mixed CD. And then I realized, I should just say playlist, right? I think a lot of us have had an experience where somebody has gone through and created a curated experience of music for us based upon their knowledge of us and what they think we might like. This is similar to the social media experience, except in this case, it is somebody who actually does know you, and you have the ability to dialogue with them, right? Where you can tell them, I didn't really like this, or I really like this song. Can you give me more? Or can you suggest other things? And so you have the ability to kind of go back and forth and talk about what did I like? Why did I like it? What sort of things, if you were to do this, playlist again, would you be able to provide me that I would enjoy? So it's different, and I think sometimes social media gets talked about as though it is this sort of curated experience, but it's not an authentically curated experience, but it can be. So when I am talking about what you can do as a parent to help your kids navigate social media, what I would suggest is the following: half hour a week. Right away, I know some of you are like, "Oh, that's too long." Look, if you can't spend a half hour with your kids, you're watching the wrong thing here. Half hour a week, sit down and talk to them about what it is they've been watching, consuming, the websites they've gone to. Have them maybe in front of the computer, have them show you the stuff that they've been watching, the YouTube videos, the websites, the games. Don't judge, right? It's going to be weird. I absolutely promise you it's going to be weird because the stuff that kids like, the culture that they are immersed in, is not for us. It is not for adults. Just think, I grew up in the 80s. I can only imagine what my parents thought the first time I got all excited about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My parents grew up in the 50s. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles probably sounded ridiculous to them. Or the fascination that kids of my generation had with video games, right? This is not something that our parents grew up with and looked strange and weird to them. In the same way, a lot of these YouTube channels that our kids are watching seem strange and weird to us. A lot of the music that they listen to may seem strange and weird to you, but you loving Motley Crue, again, dating myself, I know, in the 80s probably seemed very weird and strange to your parents. So don't judge. Just sit there and be with them. Ask questions, but not judgmental questions. And find out what it is they like about the things they're watching, right? Why are you watching this? What is it you like about it? Is it the humor? Is it the game, the gameplay, watching somebody play these games? And use that as a way to sort of build up an understanding of what sorts of content your kids are enjoying. And then you can use that to suggest other content to them that you think may be in their particular wheelhouse, but also which is something that you've looked over and you may consider safe. The other thing is this is an opportunity for you to learn more about their likes and dislikes and see if they are developing sort of habits or trends that you may not necessarily think are positive. If they are watching content that you may think is objectionable or harmful. And this provides an opportunity to have that discussion about why you are concerned about that content, and what sort of content you would consider better or safer, and to reinforce really online safety things. So, to ask questions about, are you talking to people that you don't know online? Are you engaging in sort of behavior that has gotten you warnings in games or in social media for the content that you're posting, and what that means and what that looks like? So again, it's just a half hour, but it's you stepping in and taking that more curated curator role that the social media platforms do not do. Again, they have no concern for your kids' safety. They may say they do, but that is not, at the end of the day, what drives their motivation. At the end of the day, what drives their motivation is profit, and the profit comes from eyes on the screen. And if the content that is going to drive eyes on the screen is dangerous or objectionable, well, that's part of the price of doing business for some of these companies. It is you who can come in and stand in the middle of this and really, as a parent, as somebody that your kids look to for guidance and respect, really come in and help them navigate these spaces because they don't know, right? I think if we're talking about some of the research findings that the lab I worked with had, it's that the kids themselves, particularly tweens, don't know what they're doing. They're learning from peers, they're learning from older siblings. They know it's something that a lot of kids are doing, but they don't necessarily know what is good or bad, what is dangerous or safe. And this is just a technique, a tool for you to really help them develop those skills. So I hope you found this helpful. As usual, I'm going to do the like, subscribe thing. Um, Hopefully, I'll be coming at you with some more videos in this sort of parenting content. If you did enjoy what I said today, or if you have questions, or there's topics around kids and technology that you would like me to talk about, drop me a line, let me know. And until next time, hope everything goes well for you.